and welcome to Poynter Park for tonight's National 1 derby and Border League doubleheader between Kelso and Melrose. Both sides came into the game following back-to-back victories, but tonight something must give. Before we pass you over to Dale Clancy in the commentary box, let's have a word with both camps.
We've had a really good week at training. Every week we try and get better. That's certainly what we try and do. You know, we've not got a lot of time with the players, as is with any club. So sometimes a bit of a patch-up job from one week to the next, a bit of analysis. But yeah, we've had a good week. Boys in good form, a couple of guys back from injury, and we always enjoy coming down to Poynter. We always know we're in for a tough game, and it's a border rivalry. You know, Melrose just up the road, so yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
So Neil, a border derby under the lights at Poynter Park. I don't imagine the players will need much geeing up for this one.
No, that's right, Andrew. They're pretty up for it already without much being said. They all know what's at stake in a border derby, any border derby, but I think given the positions in the league as well, it's probably got a little more to the match, and obviously to double up for the Border League. So there's a fair bit at stake tonight, so I think both teams will be pretty revved up.
Have you sensed an extra edge in training this week with it being a border derby?
Yeah, I think there always is a wee bit extra spark. You know, the guys know they have to be on their game, you know, physically, mentally, they have to approach it like most other games, but there is a wee bit extra edge because the guys, it just means a wee bit more, if we're honest. You know, these border games, it's they know the other players pretty well, and like management, we know the Kelso management pretty well as well, so it's altogether it comes together for a good night.
Probably would suit us to be teaming down with rain, actually, with the kind of park we've got, but at the end of the day, there's probably going to be a big crowd, and we'll look at running rugby as well. So yeah, I think everyone in our team's had a good preparation this week, so yeah, with no excuses.
Looking at the galley, and probably everything needs to be different. We didn't play well at all that day. So the guys know that. We spoke about that this week, saying look, it's a border game. We need to play better than that. You know, there'll be a good crowd here. There'll be a reasonable support over from Mel. So we need to do that justice. And ultimately, the players need to do themselves justice by going out and putting a performance. And if that means a win, brilliant. If it doesn't, I mean, we won't be far away from it. So again, we'll see how the next couple of hours go.
You welcome back a few players in recent weeks from injury and suspension. Was this as good as a Kelso team as you've had in a while, would you say?
Yeah, I would say give or take it's our strongest team. Obviously we've got Angus Roberts back, who's been away for work reasons, and Andy Tate had a 4-week suspension, and he's back. He came back in against Watsonians, and he did make a difference. So yeah, we're glad to have some of these guys available again.
Good evening from Poynter Park in this National 1 and Border League doubleheader, which is brought to you by Borders Rugby TV, which is proudly sponsored by Borders Distillery and Samurai. And it is going to be Kelso who welcome Melrose under the lights on this Friday evening in what should be a physical and frenetic encounter between the two local rivals. There's not much to separate the teams before kick-off, with things very tight at the top of a congested National 1 league, with a bundle of teams in the top 6 kept apart by only 7 points. The hosts, they sit in 6th position, and they retain a relatively settled team as they look to rein in Melrose further up the table, and they hope to achieve this by reshuffling the back line behind the scrum. The reintroduction of Dwayne Patterson means that Angus Roberts moves onto the wing, and the partnership of the aforementioned Patterson and Robson will be intriguing against the Rose midfield. In the forwards, a mix of experience and youth will look to win the battle up front, with Archie Cowans replacing Kevin Dryden at blindside in a move which perhaps brings a little more ingenuity, which will complement the abrasive style of the McNeils in the back row. The visitors have lost the services of their left foot kicking option at inside centre, with Rolly Brett dropping out of the squad, but ex-Southern Knight Gavin Wood is a very able replacement alongside ex-Kelso player Crawford, and all eyes will be firmly fixed on the battle in the centre of the park, with both teams littered with talent in that area. Logan Kirk replaces club captain Ferguson at hooker from the win against Stirling last week, and the introduction of Angus Runciman from the Southern Knights will perhaps give Melrose more toughness in the pack. Fresh from under-20s duties with Edinburgh last weekend as well, Sam Derrick is looking to continue his fine form this season. Melrose have went very heavy with forwards on the bench because they've got Graham Dodds and John Cox returning from injury, and they sit alongside Rory Lindsay, who's had a very good start to the season. It's him that makes way for the returning Runciman, so that might be a sign of intent from the visitors. Rudy Campbell from the Border Rugby Referee Society is the man in the middle. And it's certainly a crisp evening here in Kelso. No rain, a little bit of wind to speak of, but really not much apart from that. It's a very, very packed stand as well. It's Kelso to get play underway here, and it's kicked deep into the Melrose half, and it's been taken well out of the danger area there by Sam Derrick, who's got his first taste of ball in hand, and that's a big hit in the centre of the field there. I think it was Ewan Knox who burst out the defensive line to put that tackle in. Certainly shown intent early on and trying to build the tempo, and he's again straight back at it, just putting that big left shoulder in to try and stop the Melrose momentum as they start to kind of build forward, and they go to the boot of Bruce Colvin, who's going to kick downfield, and that's been gurgled there on the wing, but it's been well gathered in the end. He's under a little bit of Melrose pressure there, but Kelso managed to galvanise themselves and try and get the ball moving, trying to get it into the wider channels and try and break this line, but it gets scrappy in midfield, and it's play has been broken down slightly there, and the referee Rudy Campbell is going to get the first scrum, and it's quite a tetchy start there between two teams, Neil.
Yeah, just finding each other out there. I think Kelso just, you can tell Kelso really up for it, and it was just a little bit sort of maybe too keen there with the ball in hand, just a bit of rush of blood and a bit of spilled ball. So
it's put into the scrum for Melrose, but it's been collapsed there, and it's going to be a penalty to Melrose, and they're going to get the opportunity to kick downfield here. And the ball is just passed to Struan Hutchison, and he's got a very good right boot. He's obviously missing the services of the left-footed Rolly Brett this evening, but Struan Hutchison tries to hit his target. It doesn't look like it's going to make touch there, and it's just been passed back in field, and it's Dwayne Patterson there who's got an equally big right boot there as he just launches it downfield. It goes deep into the hands of David Colvin, who just returns it back into the 22, and it's good crossfield covering there from Greg Ponton, who's rushed but doesn't be able to get the kick away, and it's been gathered there by Mvalasi Julian, who's got the ball in hand from the kick. It was a very poor clearance kick there from Greg Ponton, and Melrose now look to try and strike for the first time, and Terry Logan just dropping the shoulder, and the man goes straight to deck, and Colvin recycles again, and it's passed on to Gav Wood, the man returning from injury, and it's got loose here, and it's a big boot, big house downfield, and Kelso now on the chase. Melrose have got a player back, Aidan Cross just putting the spikes on, trying to get back. It goes over the try line, and it's been dotted down there, and the Kelso players really hungry to try and get that ball down to get the opening score. A great big boot from Melbourne, the second row, but you can see the tenacity there, Neil, from the Kelso players.
Yeah, just a little bit unlucky there, Dale, that the ball actually just went over the line. I think if it stops a yard further forward, Melrose are in quite a lot of trouble.
It's going to be a throw in to the line out, and Ewan Knox is going to be the player to throw in, and he hits his target, and he just joins them all at the back, and there's not a lot of players there. I think Bruce McNeil is the man with the ball at the back of that maul. It's still going forward. Terry Logan joins the fray, and they push it over the line, and big Terry Logan has got the ball in hand. I think him and Bruce McNeil might be having a conversation about who got that try down, but I don't think they'll matter. The two bearded, big, bulky figures in the forwards. There was not a lot of pressure on that maul when it was being defended by Melrose. Kelso, they certainly capitalise on the ill-discipline from Melrose. They make them pay, and they get the opening score of this game, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, it was really efficient play from Kelso. I mean, a little bit of ill-discipline from Melrose opened the door there, and Kelso put it in the corner. Textbook stuff straight to the middle of the line out. A really tidy driving maul. Really pleasing on the eye for the forwards, and good 5 points.
It was a very well worked maul by Kelso, obviously showing that they're coming here to win the battle up front, which I think perhaps also indicates to the structure of the Melrose squad. They've went with 4 forwards on the bench and 1 back. They're going to have to certainly use all those players this evening. That's going to be an opportunity here for Murray Hastie to add the extra 2 points just outside the 22. And a good left-footed strike, and it's through the sticks, and it's opening his account for this evening. Struan Hutchison just hoists the ball high into this night sky, and it's been plucked out by the big Irish marauding figure of Melbourne, and he tries to offload the ball, but it's just been spilled, and it's getting a bit scrappy in midfield, and it's now Donald Crawford just to try and find some turf. Now it's going to be Kelso to throw in to the line out, and they hit their target there again, and I think they've hit their man Billy McNeil. I think that's Archie Cowans who they've hit in the line out, and it's starting to twist and turn, and they've got Bruce Colvin in there just trying to make a menace of himself, the scrum half, now pleading his case, trying to plead his innocence to the referee that he wasn't in there causing a nuisance. And his opposite man now kicks it downfield, and it's been gathered there by Aidan Cross, who just steps back infield. He beats the first man, and he's set up a platform here, but the penalty is going to go to Kelso. There's a bit of pushing and shoving in there as well, and you can see the intent from these Kelso players. They're certainly up for this fight, and I think they really want to win this battle, but Melrose are looking dangerous. They do want to play rugby, kick the ball in the right areas, but at the moment it's Kelso who've got the upper hand. They've got a little bit more bite for this so far, Neil.
Yeah, I have to say that. Kelso just look a little bit edge on front when it comes to intense stuff. Melrose playing quite clever. I think 9 and 10, obviously, we can talk all day about how good they are. And Crawford there in the middle using the boot. And I think they're renowned for playing running rugby, Melrose, but I think they've come down with a bit of structure about them. They're looking to edge up the field rather than just go for anywhere. And so far, actually, they've had a bit of joy. But as you say, Greg Ponton struggled a little bit at the back, but Kelso have fought well to get out of there.
Yeah, no points so far for Melrose, so he's not done too bad a job so far, as Terry Logan just has a ball off the line out. He's shown a good bit of pirouetting as well, as he just takes himself into contact and manages to twist and turn out, and it's now Big Melbourne who's been asked to just carry the ball up, just tuck the ball in tight and try and breach this Melrose defence. And Kelso looking to try and set up a platform here, as Andy Tate just takes it a little bit slower and finds the runner off the shoulder. And again, just trying to get that continuity and that structure and that possession here, as Bruce McNeil, who's got an abundance of experience, certainly in Borders rugby as well, he looks to just keep it tight and give Andy Tate the platform. The Kelso captain now just fielding it out, and it just went through the legs there of Ryan Toogood, just taking it standing still in the quick Melrose defensive line, putting a lot of pressure on him there. And he's just girdled the ball and just spilled it, and it's just dribbled forward. So it's going to be a platform here, an opportunity for Melrose to try and get the scrum and try and get the ball into the hands of the backs and try and release some of these runners such as Gav Wood and David Colvin, try and get them into the game, because so far they've been nullified and they've been pretty quiet. So the front row of Jack Dobie, Logan Kirk and Callum Cruikshanks will be made to work hard during this 80 minutes on a Friday night at Poynter Park. A lot of points at stake, not only in National 1 but also the Border League, as both teams are in a pool with Selkirk, and it's going to be another re-put into the scrum. And this is an occasion, Ian, when you want to try and get these, you want to make sure these scrums are steady, but Kelso certainly look really keen to put their pressure and exert their dominance in the scrum, but the referee's got a job to try and kind of balance it.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously Bruce Colvin at scrum half, and Andy Tate for that matter, very experienced practitioners. He's not going to put the ball in until it's ready. If he can draw a free kick, either of them would do exactly the same. So it's interesting. This was decided the penalty was on for Melrose, but it looks like Kelso's got a little bit of domination at the moment on the Melrose put in.
There's going to be another opportunity here to just get the scrum going and try and get some clean ball from the back. The pressure comes on from the Kelso front row. The referee has said it's been collapsing on that far side, and there's a lot of push in there, and now we can see Bruce McNeil and Bruce Colvin have came together there. There was a push on Terry Logan, and then the players have played together as both teams are starting to guddle in there, and there's hands and fists going everywhere as both teams look to try and get the upper hand on each other. And nobody likes to see these things spill over, but this has been boiling for the opening 5 minutes here at Poynter Park. Both teams are, the big characters like Colvin, like McNeil, they're always going to be involved in these sort of occasions, but it's been coming for the last couple of minutes, Neil, hasn't it?
Well, I was really impressed with the ref there, because he's seen what happened on the other side for the other side, so he's pretty good.
Yeah, an interesting one for me. I'm looking at that thinking Melrose is starting to go back in the scrum. Again, logic is one thing, we're sitting a good distance away from it, but if they're starting to go back, they're going to concern about sort of losing the ball with the ball going backwards. So why would the scrum go down? Again, we're not seeing exactly what the referee's saying, but it's interesting. Hopefully that's sorted out. They've had their bit of fun, and let's go on with a game of rugby, please.
I would say that the way the referee's just dealt with that is perfect for these kind of games.
Yep.
You just got to take a breath, get them dealt off and move on. If something really serious is seen, fair dues, but a bit of a medal or nothing, but move on.
I think that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on this evening, because Bruce Colvin and Bruce McNeil are both big characters for their teams, and you can see them coming together there. They don't step back and coming forward anyway, both players, and it's certainly going to be something to keep your eye on, as Bruce McNeil still having a couple of words with Rudy Campbell, and Bruce Colvin just trying to get his troops going as well, just moving forward to this line out as it's been kicked downfield from Melrose. But I agree, I think the referee's done a good job. He's not went to his pocket too early. There was obviously perhaps an opportunity to do that, but he's done well to let play go on as Melrose hit their target in the line out, and they're looking to try and set up some platform here. But Fairbairn just breaks off the back of the scrum, and he's got some good support there from his muckers up front as the ball's been spilled out there to Melrose. He's just starting to work round the corner, just trying to get the platform just that little bit wider as Runciman gets his first occasion with the ball in hand this evening. and it's going a little bit further, and it's just gurgled from the hands of Struan Hutchison, not finding his target, and it's going very loose over there, but the referee is going to bring that back for a penalty. But you can see Melrose trying to stretch that defence and trying to just play it a little bit outside the shoulder of perhaps 10 or the first receiver, the first defender for Kelso, and looking to try and play an expansive brand of rugby. But the Kelso defence so far looking pretty strong. Yeah,
Kelso getting off the line quick, which is really pleasing. Obviously Melrose, they do stick a lot of phases together and they're playing, they were good there. I just think the Kelso defence just cancelled them out, and just a bit unfortunate to get caught on the offside there.
13 minutes gone here at Poynter Park. It's currently Kelso 7, Melrose 0. But that could well change shortly, as David Colvin's just setting up for a penalty kick on the 22. And a right-footed kick, and that's successful from the fullback, and he gets his account open for the day. Kelso 7, Melrose 3. Sam Derrick, he has retrieved the ball from the kick-off and gallops out of his 22. And Melrose try and come back on that short side, and that is Lewis Mallon over in the wing there. He's equally as comfortable at wing and tries to offload, but the ball went loose there when Angus Runciman was almost there in support, and Struan Hutchison has to go in and play 9 as it's went out further afield to Ethan Deacon, who's taken the ball. He's not made much in the way of yardage, but he's secured the ball, and Struan Hutchison kicks downfield, and it's Ponting now under the ball, looks secure on this occasion. He finds a bit of turf, and that looks like it could be an exceptional kick downfield, and it's a great kick from the fullback. Melrose have certainly improved in their defence and their structure over the last few weeks. They're a very flat performance against Gala, but they've went and won against Ayr and Stirling Wolves in the following week, so certainly coming into this game with a bit of form as they look to secure that clean ball from the scrum, and Bruce Colvin just wanting a little bit of protection there from the ruck so he can kick it downfield, and it's going to be gathered again by Greg Ponting, who does exactly the same again. He puts the boot to ball, and it's just went straight back to Colvin, who's just found a supporting player there in Struan Hutchison, and he just cool, calm as you like, just offloads to him, and again Melrose try and set up, but a lot of pressure there on Bruce Colvin from Melbourne, and he just gobbles him up, and he looks like he's strangling this ball from Bruce Colvin, but he's been asked to release as Colvin just managed to get a couple of knees to the ground. But Melrose do get the ball back on their side, and they're having to play from deep as Melbourne looks to try and make a nuisance of himself at the fringes there. He just noticed that ball came out, and the referee said that was fine, and Kelso now steal the ball as Frankie Robson looks to try and get the ball from the ruck and get things going, but the referee is going to bring that back for a knock on. But you've seen that a mile away from Melbourne. He was just hunting that just at the side of the ruck, seen the ball squirted out, and he wanted to put a bit of pressure on it. But again, this typifies the way this game's been. It has been stop-start, and it's scrappy there when Kelso look like they've got the ball back. It just doesn't get going.
Yeah, coming from Keith Melbourne's background in Ireland, I think it's a big thing over there where they try and do the hold up for the maul choke tackle, and he's really good at it, and he's had a few successes this season at it already. You don't know what that's like as well. It's really important, it can slow the game down.
I think Melbourne was in a really one-win position there, because Colvin got the ball at the back. He was going for the box kick. He's got the biggest guy in the field there to block it, so he tries to dummy him.
Dwayne Patterson has now found the winger here as Melrose getting scamper across well, but Kelso almost looked like they were in there with a loose ball, almost kicked downfield, but just not able to get the boot to ball, and it is going to come back on a Melrose side, and it was a good run there from Angus Roberts. And he got the ball in hand and looked to try and make his way downfield, but just couldn't find enough space on the stand side here at Poynter Park, as Gavin Wood now gets the ball to Donald Crawford, and he launches the ball past David Colvin. It's almost an interception there for Greg Ponting, but it's just been knocked forward. Melrose dicing with death there. Ponting looked to pounce and try and get the ball in hand as he tried to get the ball over to Mvalasi Julian, but it wasn't to do on this occasion. Kelso unlucky, but that's a let off for Melrose, dicing with danger. And you would expect Kelso will be looking to try and turn the screw here and try and put a bit of pressure on this Melrose scrum. It gets a little bit of go forward, but it's clean, and it's broken away there for Fairbairn. Fairbairn just looks to try and brush off the attention of Matt Kindness, but he hauls him down to ground, and Melrose have made some good yardage there as Lewis Mallon mops up there. And it's been launched back in field from Bruce Colvin. Bruce Colvin, eventually the ball finds David Colvin, his brother, and he just pins the ball right down the middle of the field, and the bounce of the ball's not been kind to Patterson, but he's gathered it up well and kicked it downfield, and Mvalasi Julian is back there ready to just return it with intent. A bit of height there from the winger, but Ponting doing well to gather that as he just stabs that ball low into this Melrose half, and Bruce Colvin showing his footballing skills and manages to turn Dwayne Patterson, he's not been too handy with this, but it looks like he's going to come back on the Melrose side, and Bruce Colvin just gets the boot to ball, but it's bounced off a Kelso player, and it's going to come back there and an opportunity. But I think this game is starting to turn. I think it's really erratic, really frantic, and both teams really not being able to enforce themselves in this game so far. And it's Bruce McNeil from the tail of the line out, finds Robson. They linked up very well in the fixture against Gala earlier on this season, which resulted in a defeat, but they certainly looked like they were had loads of intent, as Bruce McNeil looks to just take it straight through the heart of the Melrose defence as he just picks up and goes, because play was slowing down. Now Terry Logan offering himself up, trying to get that big hand out and trying to get the ball offloaded, but he's unable to on this occasion, and Murray Hastie looks to try and stab it through, and it's going to come back to Angus Roberts here as he's just pushed into touch. But the options were there for Murray Hastie. The players were getting a little bit flat, and Melrose certainly filtered this side, but he kind of ran down a channel. Bruce Colvin has got the ball back into the scrum, and it's successful on that occasion, and it's spun out and it's just glanced in front of Gav Wood there, and it's found its way over to Envelise Julian, and he kicks it downfield, and it has found Greg Ponton now, and he is going to just return the ball again, and he's found a little bit of turf, and it's going to get stuck on this ground here just shy of the Melrose try line, and Donald Crawford, tashed up for Movember, just returns it downfield again. And now Bruce McNeil, now he's found Dwayne Patterson, who's got a little bit of space. There's a little bit of a mismatch here. He looks to try and stand up his opposite man, and he looks like he's evaded the defender there, but great defence by Jack Dobie, who covers the field well to bring down what is a dangerous runner as Kelso looked to try and glance the ball. Just a flat pass there from Andy Tate, looking to try to find the runner going forward, and you can see the displeasure from Andy Tate. Frustratingly, just slaps his thighs there, just directing exactly what he wants from his runners. He never got it on that occasion, and again, when things look good for either team, there's an error in there and things get slowed down again, and we're back at a scrum, Neil.
Dwayne was just about through there. It was a great cover tackle from Melrose, and then from there we were just moving it back in there. Andy just had to pick the right guy, and he didn't. I think Andy will be, if he sees that back, he'll be disappointed with it, but we move on.
Yeah, trying to almost play too wide on that occasion, just trying to really set up a platform and get the continuity in this game, but it is something that has eluded both teams thus far. But yes, it is going to be a penalty finally from the scrum, and impartial as ever, Neil Hinnigan airs his views on the way that penalty has went, but Kelso are very, you'll be happy with it, to get the penalty from the scrum, exerting your dominance up front.
I mean, I think we've had a few scrums as dominant like that, and we've not had much reward, and I think he certainly, that was one we deserved.
I think you've just got to watch tight head prop Terry's angle. That's the only thing. He's got. It looks like he's got the upper hand on his opposite number, but sitting for where we are, you can quite often see that number 3 is pointing towards the 2. Yeah. I think if he drives straight, which that time he did, because you saw the Melrose loose head went on the outside, so he basically popped out the scrum, which led to the wheel and the dominance. If he scrummages legally, I think he'll get penalties all night.
It's going to be Murray Hastie to try and get 3 points here and try and capitalise on that error up front from Melrose. And the left-footed kicker certainly looks like it's got the distance here, and the touch judges underneath the posts are liking it as well. They hoist their flags in the sky. 3 points, 10 points to 3. Kelso now leading. That's the sort of things, when games are getting scrappy, relying on a good reliable kicker is always a good avenue to go down. He's been met with a bit of company. I think the Melrose players swarming round him, knowing that he's a bit of a danger man in the middle row there. His ball's kicked downfield now, and it's Dwayne Patterson with the spikes on, and he's got Aidan Cross in. The ball has been guddled by Aidan Cross there. It's been left-footed kicked by Dwayne Patterson. He's going to gather the ball, and he's just knocked it on just shy of the line. Melrose get back to sweep up the danger, but Dwayne Patterson stretching every single sinew in his body, trying to gather that ball, knocks it on, almost over the whitewash there to get a score from what was a mistake there in the backfield, a bit of miscommunication from Aidan Cross and David Colvin. Dwayne Patterson almost made it count, but unfortunately for him, the ball was perhaps just an inch or two too close to the ground, couldn't gather it, and doesn't make them pay there on this occasion. It's going to be a put into the scrum, and that is all it's going to be for Melrose here. They don't concede any tries, they don't concede any conversions, it's just going to be a scrum, and that is a let off there for Melrose. And Neil Hinnigan, you can be as Kelso as you like here if you want. You'll have been on your edge of the seat there.
I'm mightily frustrated. However, Dwayne was a bit unlucky, and he had to attack it at pace to get there, and admire him for taking that on, because that would have been an exceptional bit of skill to finish that off.
Looks like there's been a replacement as well for Melrose, as John Cox looks like he's returning to the field after a lengthy absence from injury, after an injury against Gala. In that fixture at the Green Yards, it was a nasty collision with Gregor Mean, but he's obviously refreshed now and back into the field, the ex-Curry captain. Melrose are notorious for winning games from losing positions. They certainly don't drift out of games easily. But Bruce McNeil from the scrum just wraps round with Andy Tate, and there's a pocket of room there for Frankie Robson, and he just tries to get his big claw out there to just swat off the Melrose defenders, but he's been snaffled in midfield, and it's Gav Wood looking to try and bring Bruce McNeil down to ground, looking to try and target the ball, and a bit of Jacqueline on the deck there as well from Gav Wood when he had a second bite of it, but it is going to be a penalty to Kelso, and it's another chance here for Kelso to try and knock the ball in between the posts. But you can see there, good link-up play, but the danger of Frankie Robson, he's been pretty quiet in these opening 35 minutes, but that is what he can do. He's a direct runner, very abrasive, and when he gets these little holes he can just bust his way through them.
Yeah, that's Frankie's game. I think you'd said at the start, I mean, Gav Wood and Donald Crawford are fairly good big lads themselves, and they both sets of backs will pride themselves in defence and attack, and I think that's maybe bringing a bit better out of Frankie today. He knows he has to play better against this kind of opposition, and that's the kind of runs, that's bread and butter for him, and that's what we want to see, get him over that green line.
Again, a left-footed strike in between the posts. 13 points to 3, a 10-point lead after 36 minutes. As play gets back underway, and Struan Hutchison just kicking it further downfield, trying to evade Melbourne perhaps on this occasion.
I would say so,
but it came to the hands of Bruce McNeil, so I don't think you've really got much of an option there. But Andy Tate now has found Murray Hasty, and he's going to kick downfield, and it's David Colvin who's doing well to get that ball, which was just going on the ground there, and Aidan Cross now dances his way back in field. He dances into trouble but gets out of it, but he's been wrapped up there by a big Keith McNeil as he just looks to try and bring his player to ground. But they set up the platform there again, and Melrose come round the corner with John Cox now, who's got his first opportunity with the ball in hand, and Lewis Mallon now playing playmaker. He finds Cruikshank, he just manages just to weasel his way over the 10 metre line, and Colvin now finds Gavin Wood, and he just dances back in field looking to try and unlock this Kelso defence, but so far it's held strong as Crawford now finds Colvin, and he's been met with a lot of pressure there, and Crawford's asked to go round and try and sweep it up, but there's a Dwayne Patterson is still on the ground, and it's good there from Bruce Colvin, who's excellent. Noticed that and got straight over to the opposite player, and just to raise it to the awareness of the referee. A good defensive play there from Dwayne Patterson, but there's probably not a lot. There's probably not a hotter topic in terms of rugby at the moment than concussion, and that is an example there. He's laid out on the floor, he's went in for a really hard tackle, perhaps got his head in the wrong position, and you can see he's got the ill effects of this now, and it's something that you've got to be really, really careful of in this day and age. Yeah, definitely, that's the most important thing. But Dwayne Patterson is going to leave the field of play, and he's a player that perhaps Kelso will miss, but he's going to be replaced by Angus Thompson. He's been certainly looked after there as the medical staff from Kelso make sure his best interests are looked after, but play is going to get back underway without Dwayne Patterson, who's left the field of play, and it is going to be restarted with a penalty to Melrose from the scrum. Bruce Colvin just giving a pat on the back to John Cox. You can see the big wry smile there from the Melrose prop forward there, the replacement prop, certainly coming on to do his job, but Bruce Colvin certainly getting the pack G'd up there, and that's no better way to restart the game, get the penalty, try and kick downfield and build the pressure. But you can see the passion there from Bruce Colvin. He's the ultimate competitor. He's littered with loads of trophies for Melrose, but you can see the influence that he has here. Even if he's not pushing in the scrum, he's certainly well heard there by the front row. Melbourne just getting his big mitts to the ball and clawing it back towards the 22, and it's been gathered well there by Bruce McNeil. Andy Tate's has seen enough. The captain for Kelso just kicks the ball out, and he's going to lead his troops down the tunnel. 13 points to 3 to the good. The Melrose come back onto the field, and they've made a replacement there. Richard Ferguson looks like he is the man to lead the team back out, obviously replacing Logan Kirk at hooker. He's going to make way for Richard Ferguson, the captain, the club captain for Melrose. He puts in a lot of travelling time, on the M8 down from Glasgow to come and play rugby for his local club. Came through the youth system at Earlston High School alongside the likes of Bruce Colvin and Grant Runciman. So he's going to enter the fray again, and it looks like they've went to the bench early.
It'll be interesting after what we said about the aggression. They've brought Graham Dodds on, Melrose, so Graham will meet fire with fire as he always does.
And we'll see what happens here as Bruce McNeil gets the ball from the restart here, and he sets up the platform there for Kelso, and they look to try and secure this ball and get a little bit of territory at the start of this second half. And Andy Tate just launches it high into the sky. It looks like it's going to be gathered well there over that far side by Sam Derrick, who's an exciting back row player, played for Edinburgh under 20s in midweek against Glasgow under 20s at the Dam Health Stadium just outside BT Murrayfield. But Bruce Colvin now spinning the ball wide, and it's just evaded the clutch of Graham Dodds, who would have got the ball in hand for the first time. But Invalesi Julian just gets the ball and tries to scamper downfield. He's met with a good challenge there by Angus Roberts on the wing, and it's now found its way back in field as Fairbairn looks to try and just take it into the heart of McNeil, and he's been met there by McNeil and Melbourne. A couple of high towers there just to meet, but it's been well defended there by the big towering pair as they secure that ball. Andy Tate's been at Kelso for a long time, and obviously Bruce Colvin is. They're familiar and as well as on the Kings of the Seventh Circuit. They know each other very well, but it is going to be Bruce McNeil to get the ball from the scrum there, and he passes it open there to try and release maybe more territory and maybe more defence, as opposed to release the player looking to try and set up that platform and stretch this Melrose defence. But they come round the corner again and pick and go, and keeping it tight here as Murray Hastie finds himself in its scrum half. But Bruce McNeil is taking the penalty quick, and he goes downfield. He's wrong footed. Bruce Colvin, he's went round him. He's been well brought down by his brother David, who's playing wee brother duties there, but the ball's been filtered outfield there. Greg Ponton finds himself in a bit of space, but he's been snaffled there in defence, and Rory Campbell just notices that there is an opportunity there to blow the whistle and give the penalty to Kelso. But good there from Bruce McNeil, good in the open field, heads up rugby, and he'll love that going round Bruce Colvin there. A throw in to the line out in a very dangerous position. It started the first half, but it's going to come down again, and Bruce McNeil just doesn't keep it in the ball. He looks to go back towards the touch line and get himself closer to this line, and Kelso now within a few inches of the Melrose whitewash, and that white line is Richard Ferguson just finds himself on the wrong side. The referee is going to blow his whistle there. Bruce McNeil on this occasion doesn't make many yards, and it looked like Keith McNeil tried to just keep that tight, and he's knocked on, and now it's going wide here, and it's Ferguson. He finds Struan Hutchison. There's an opportunity here over the far side, and he's put boot to ball, and he's scampering downfield. We've got a flyer over that far side, and Aidan Cross, it has bobbled and juggled over that far side. It looks like it's been gathered there by Struan Hutchison. He is over in the corner. It was very, very messy over in that far side. It was a very dangerous ball, and it wasn't defended well over in that far side. Aidan Cross putting a bit of pressure on the kick chase, and the man who did put the boot to ball, Struan Hutchison, he manages to get the try in the corner, and Melrose have found their way back into this game. And you said it at half time, you said the next try is going to be vital in this game, and it's went to Melrose.
Well, I don't understand what Kelso put it there. To make 3 yards was what they were trying to do. When Andy Tate was set up for the box kick, which has been discussed all week, that's what he'll do. All Andy has to do is get that up in the air, pressure evaded. We try and go an extra 3 yards for whatever reason. We get turned over, and they do exactly what Melrose do, score a try.
And it's got a little bit of go forward again. Andy Tate watching that like a hawk at the back as Bruce Colvin just throws it away from the scrum there, as Hutchison finds Julian, who's just passed the ball, and it's went over to Cross as he looks to try and keep the ball in field. And David Colvin has got the ball. Now it's Frankie Robson who's intercepted the ball, and he's looking to try and evade the challenge. He kicks downfield, so he's not tackled, but Melrose are going to get back. They snaffle the ball in the 22. Gav Wood was the man back, and they managed to thwart the error there. An interception from Frankie Robson, and it's charged down again. Andy Tate kicking forward, and there's loads of Kelso players there. Andy Tate gets the ball down. Pressure on what was a defensive Melrose ruck. They look to try and clear their lines. They look to kick downfield. Pressure from the Kelso forwards there, and it was Andy Tate who kicked the ball downfield from great work initially from Frankie Robson, and they get the ball down, and Andy Tate puts a little bit of daylight in between these two teams at Poynter Park, and Kelso now 18 points to 8 to the good.
I think from Melrose point of view, bitterly disappointed there, because they were on the attack. It was a bad pass, bad mistake. Frankie Robson gathers up, he goes the length or near enough, and then they compound it with another error, I'd be frustrated in the Melrose camp as well. Just give them a shout out there for that, because I think they would be.
And David Colvin just encroaching into the Kelso half now, just bringing the ball and taking it into Big Melbourne. A very impressive second row figure as their Melrose have numbers up with Gav Wood over on that far side, and they have now found back in field. Aidan Cross just launches it back in, and we've got Donald Crawford now, and trying to play quick and frantic rugby, a little bit more accurate on this occasion for Melrose. And Bruce Colvin again just trying to get things reignited and restarted and bring the big runners into play. There's Bruce Colvin again with a wide pass to John Cox, who throws the dummy, and he tries to get the better of his opposite man, big Terry Logan there, and he just bundles on top of him. And Gav Wood there, Donald Crawford, just trying to launch the ball, and it did drift forward, and you can see the jubilation there from Bruce McNeil, and you can see he's just trying to enforce his enthusiasm on the Melrose pack, you would say there, and just introducing himself to maybe some of the people who don't know him so well. But good defence there from Kelso, and you know, just another mistake there from Melrose, not being accurate from in open play when things start going for them, just not getting the accuracy. As Ferguson gets us back underway, as again Derek is hoisted into the Pointer Park dark sky, and Melrose look to try and play it off the back. Gav Wood keeping the ball alive, and Doug Crawford passing the ball on to David Colvin, who's starting to bring himself into this game a little bit more and enter this attacking line. And Melrose now linking up well there, and that was Rudy Lindsay who's came onto the field of play. And Doug Crawford now finds Gav Wood, who's just looking to bounce himself off his feet there. He's got very light feet, and Doug Crawford now finds David Colvin. David Colvin snuck in behind. He's got Mbelesi Julian, and he's got acres of space over the far side. He dances over the try line. He gets the score there for Melrose, and it looked like there was nothing on there for Melrose. And great play from the back line there. David Colvin, who about 2 minutes ago I said he's been quite quiet on this game, he finds a little spots the little gap there, the little chink in the Kelso defence. He sneaks through and he gets to play the space there for Mbelesi Julian, who just supported the run through into the space and dives over for what looks like an easy try. And it's game on here at Pointer Park, Neil.
Yeah, it's game on now, anyways, and that well played Melrose. It was a great try. Obviously David Colvin, and he drew his man well. He took the space there and just popped Mbelesi Julian into the space, and it was an easy run in for him.
David Colvin to try and add the extras. He's got a bit of Kelso pressure, and he hooks it to the left. So Kelso 18, Melrose 13. 74 minutes on the clock. We're approaching the dying embers of this game, but it's still got a lot of life left in the fire. As Murray Hastie gets play back underway, and a lot of pressure on the restart there as a player just launches himself over the retrieving Melrose forward there. And Doug Crawford finds Strew and Hutchison, and they look to try and get the ball wide, and they've noticed that if they play expansive rugby, there is perhaps some gaps to exploit over on the far side, and Aidan Cross couldn't exploit it on this occasion. But Melrose looking to stretch this Kelso defence now, and they look like they've got the winning. They've got the team sussed out wide. Melrose looking to try and stretch the play, and they've got a lot of joy over there. Kelso now look to throw into the line out. It's got Scrappy there, but it's been well gathered by Kenny Gibson. And just on the 10 metre line, Kelso will be looking to want to try and control and manipulate Melrose now from this point, suffocate them and starve them of the ball to try and make them encroach, and maybe encroach on the defensive line to get the penalties here, as Frankie Robson just cuts back in field into the guts of the Melrose defence there, as Kelso makes some hard yards. And still going is Terry Logan as he carries the ball for the umpteenth time in this game, as Murray Hastie just launches the ball over the heads of everybody. But it's been gathered well there by Kelso, and it's still been well protected there. And it's going to be a penalty on the far side for Kelso.
I think Graham Dodds was offside in midfield there.
I think if Kelso's got someone with a big enough boot, they should be. I think Greg Ponton maybe have enough boots for there. Have a shot.
It's certainly not a bad option at this stage in the game in terms of field position.
Gets him an 8-point lead.
Rolls the dice as well, because if you miss the kick, you've still potentially got good field position, but it is going to be.
I've got in the corner. I thought they would have had a shot at goal there. I mean, it's no huge.
Wastes a minute as well. So yeah. That was going to take them 77 minutes on the clock.
And it's not the best kick down.
I'd say if the kick went through there, he was probably just about game over at 21-13.
It's not the best. It's not the best kick downfield either from Murray Hastie. He's only encroached in the 22. He's perhaps maybe wanting to get a little bit more territory, but the ball is going to come back on a Kelso side, which for them they'll be gleeful of. In front of a sprinkling of spectators over just opposite the 22 there. It's going to be a throw in to the line out for Kelso. And again, they looked to just not lift. They tried to hit Melbourne and he was in all sorts of trouble. And Melrose now looking to try and strike from deep. Gav Wood with a little hitch kick there. He finds Donald Crawford. Donald Crawford's got in. Velassi Julian, he offloads to Gav Wood. Gav Wood looking to go right over the top of Greg Ponting, but it came to Andy Tate. Andy Tate's got some support inside. He doesn't look to use it and he's been bundled into touch. But it runs down the clock ever so slightly here. And there's a little bit of afters there with Donald Crawford in the dugout. And now Doug Crawford's on here. They've got some numbers over this far side. It's hoisted over Richard Ferguson, looking to track and go back in field. I didn't think there was much crossing there as well. He was level with his players. Doug Crawford now finds Donald Crawford. They exchange passes and it's now back on a Kelso side. A knock on has been kicked downfield. Andy Tate has found a little bit of a gap over that far side and it's bobbled well there. It's been ushered by David Coleman. He has a little slip but he's been met with Matt Kindness.
No penalties,
and it's good play there from Kelso.
Yes!
It's been good play from Kelso there and you can hear on that side it's going to be a penalty to Kelso. Good pressure from the kick. It comes from a mistake from Melrose in the midfield. A good option from Andy Tate to kick downfield. Great pressure on the kick downfield and they win the penalty and they can start to turn the screw and start to see this game out now as the scoreboard over the far side it gets closer and closer to 80 minutes being played. It's a grandstand finish here at Poynter Park as it's been gathered there. It was almost gathered by Kelso, but it's Sam Derrick. He's got a bit of space to gallop into, but Kelso have managed to scramble the defence back. Kevin Dryden doing well from the breakdown and Bruce McNeil in there as well, looking to try and keep this defensive line. Kelso looking like they're depleted in defence and Doug Crawford launches the ball over on that far side and Melrose have now got Aidan Cross over there. He's looking to try and find and pick the weak point in this Kelso defence. So from defending their own line, Melrose are looking to try and snatch the wind here, but it's gone lost, but it's came back on the Melrose side.
Knock on.
And the referee has got his arm out. It's a knock on here. It's a knock on, and you can hear the jubilation from Neil Hinnigan as Kelso defeat Melrose 18 points to 13. They win the game here in National 1 and the Border League. They take all the points, 4 points. Melrose get the losing bonus, but you can hear how much that means to Neil Hinnigan here. And Kelso had to do it the hard way. Melrose, it was a game littered with mistakes. It wasn't a classic by any means. Both teams had a lot of errors in there, and it was almost who could make the least amount of errors. But Kelso backs to the wall at the end. Melrose with their backs to the wall defending their own line. But 18-13, a fair reflection of this game, I feel.
I think it was a fair result. I think Kelso fully deserved it, and they were actually almost the masters of their own downfall on many occasions through the game. But we've managed to dig out the win, and I think we definitely fully deserve it. And from a club's point of view, I mean, we're building something here, and we've been targeting beating a top 4 team for a wee while, and we've finally done it tonight. And I think it's full credit to all 20 players and the Kelso coaching staff, because they've came out and wanted it more tonight, and I think that was just about the difference.
Kelso have got a rich vein of history here at Poynter Park. 5 British and Irish Lions speaks for itself, but they're certainly starting to creep their way back into contention and be one of the best teams in the Borders. Very impressive this evening against Melrose. They win 18 points to 13 here at Poynter Park in the National 1 and Border League as well on Borders Rugby TV, and this has been brought to you by Samurai and Borders Distillery.
So Bruce, any Border Derby win down here at Poynter Park has got to be pleasing.
Definitely, yeah. I don't think it was much of a spectacle, to be honest, but let's be honest, Border derbies are won with a lot of heart and passion. I think we showed that in abundance today.
Firstly, just want to say well done to Kelso. I thought they were excellent. They probably didn't do anything that surprised us, but what they did it really well, and even with playing badly, we still had a few chances, which is probably the most disappointing thing, but no, look, well done to them, they deserved it.
We are slowly but surely becoming a fairly tough team to beat, and that's, for me and Kev, that's the most pleasing thing. If teams have to beat us, we like to make sure that they have to work for it, sort of thing. And listen, we're not the finished article. We've no massive amount to work on from that tonight, but sometimes you just have to win, and it's better to win ugly than to play well and to lose.
So Kelso keep their momentum going with their 4th victory on the bounce. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for Jed Forest versus Edinburgh Accies.